Hello, Nigel.
TK, how are you, mate?
I'm pretty good. You're up and about today.
It's good. It had to happen one of these days.
No, it's good. You can't have water before you get on the podcast.
Have a natural conversation, he said. Act like it's just normal.
Nothing's normal. It's all contrived. So, was thinking.
Good.
Well, I was not thinking. Was contemplating something over the weekend, which was that sparked some interesting thought. And there's been a lot of people, particularly through socials and whatnot, and obviously in the business that we're in, we see a lot of the stresses that are people going through periods of great change.
We have two visual clues here, your lack of it and my premature grey.
Well, I used to have a beautiful head of hair, but thinking about these major transitions. So we're talking about technology transition at the moment. There's obviously a lot happening in world events. There's, particularly in Australia here, there's a complete change in credit and funding. So there's economic pressures occurring all the time, and they're real challenges. I was talking to a few business owners about this whole concept of, well, it's just another thing. Here we go again, whatever it is, and like that. And there's a saying that I really like, and I want to dive into it a little bit today because I think it's got some relevancy around during periods of extreme unease, unknowing, and change, the approach to it. And the question that inevitably comes is, well, am I doing the right thing? Not only in just running a business, but daily. What activities should I be doing? Should I be this? And I think this is something that, if not haunts most business owners constantly, is, am I focused on the right thing right now?
Yeah.
And so there's this great saying that a warrior who goes to bed with their sword looks silly every night but one. And I think I think it's a great saying, and it's the interpretation's obviously for the person listening to it, but I take that from the conversations we have with people building businesses is the things that I'm doing that no one sees, are they actually ever going to pay off?
Yep.
And I think it's that whole idea of, going to sleep with your sword every night, that it only pays off one night. And we've seen this for years, that of people who've done so much of the work that felt like at the time essentially a waste of time.
Yeah, they didn't see an immediate payoff to it. It's laying groundwork that doesn't have an outcome straight away.
Yeah, it's do I really have to do this? Do I really need to look at my numbers every week or every month? Do I really need to have the conversation with a staff member every week? Can't they just do their job? Or do I really need to look at this new marketing campaign, what we've got is working, or all these other things? This whole idea that when things are in good times, that you just basically keep doing them, and there's some, I guess, sense to that. Obviously, we're of the philosophy that when you find something that works, you should double down and go at speed as fast as you can.
Yep.
But there's this idea that you have to start always thinking about, when this isn't here, what do I do? And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I think for people, this idea of what's beneficial when it shows no immediate outcome. And we hear, you hear people on the Oscars, or you hear people in these getting awards going, you're an overnight success. And and we could write the script. It's not an overnight success. I've been doing this for 20 years straight. Yep. This is the first time someone's given me a shiny object for it. And so I think particularly, you've been beating on a craft for a bit of time, particularly through the growth of our companies and doing that. And there's times where you might have 100 meetings and not one of them leads to anything of substance or interest.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the psychology for you of doing some of the things that are important, but keeping the enthusiasm to continue to do them without any evidence of outcome.
I generally learn through pain. so I need to get a hit to learn the lesson. Like I can be told it over and over
I
again.
think that's the trauma. Yeah. We might just cut here.
Well, no, there's couches.
It's a couch, mate. You're not paying for that session.
No, there's some people that can intellectually understand a lesson and go, okay, cool, and apply it. I'll get it, but it will slip off until I go, the outcome I didn't get what I wanted from it. It didn't produce the result I wanted. I go, oh, okay, that's what it means. So I need to feel it from that kind of point of view. With a lot of the stuff that we've been doing across multiple businesses in as we've been working, I've traditionally jumped into stuff that hasn't been my initial skill set because I've gap filled as we've kind of grown things. From that,
which is a very difficult situation for those listening, because you're probably reflecting a lot of the owners out there also. They feel like that as well, which I think why it's so relevant is you're essentially living the owner's journey, which is, well, I need to learn this now because that's what the business needs, and we're not ready to either employ a specialist for this or get some expertise in this space.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're an unfunded company, you're self-funding it. That's, you know, being pulled from pillar to post at times.
Yeah, you're in that situation of I have to rather than I get to.
Yeah. Totally.
So that I have to, it places a fair amount of pressure because you know that there's somebody, if you had the right income, the right whatever, you're in the right position, you get a specialist in and they get 50% more result from it. But we've always self-funded. So learning through those skills, I've never really actually felt safe in a skill set because it's generally I'll get something down and then you go, oh, now we need to do this, this and this. So it's always progressing forward, and I'm lucky enough to have you and Lance around all the time. You've got better eyes at how I work than I do. I can get pretty mission blind around things, and I need someone to actually go, no, look at the result. Your old reference to chop wood, carry water is I always need a reminder to actually sharpen the sword, which is, I guess, that part of actually being prepared.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Because I will go at something with a blunt axe.
We see it all the time. We see owners that this is what they think they should be doing, so they just do it blindly. So I think this is the the madness that we have to sort of try and navigate is when there's no evidence of direct return. How do you know you're not completely wasting your time? And this is, you know, it's this very, very thin line between complete delusion about what you're doing, it's never going to work, versus I need to spend time here, it just needs time to marinate. And I suppose this is the challenge that maybe experience helps.
Yeah, I guess
fix. Yeah.
If I can talk about it because I've spent the last 8 years or so heavily involved in networking. It's how we've grown the business. A lot of the work in that and a lot of the things you do, like from an outside, you go, what the hell are you doing? Like there's all these coffee meetings, there's these social events, there's going to the meetings themselves. The groundwork on that can take years to actually marinate and for the opportunity to come up, because there's no, from a networking perspective, the golden rule is you don't sell in a room, you sell through a room. Yeah. But that takes, like, to actually get your visibility up, to get your credibility up, can take, depending on how good you are, a week, a year, 10 years to do. But even if you've got the right things in place with somebody, the opportunity needs to pop up from the other side.
It's interesting you say that, because as is with most of our things, and it's probably the roles we need to play in the company, I have almost the complete opposite view. Yeah. And so if you're talking about it from a founder point of view, networking is important. So the type of networking, that albeit it's not my greatest, I enjoy it. It's the type of networking. So I think networking for sales is one thing, but particularly with owners, when you're in an industry or you're moving out, you want to be around others that are doing things in an industry. Where I see it of key networks, like, as you said, that build up and they look like a complete waste of time, but then provide you that one opportunity of a lifetime somewhere, I think is something you have to have in place. But also the balance of it is, well, how much time is the ROI for a life-changing opportunity? Yeah. Because I would almost argue that with a vision of, hey, 3, 5, 10 years of of working through something, while important, you may have had 3 businesses in that time because it's too slow.
Yeah.
And it's dependent on, well, what are we trying to get out of that network, or what are we trying to do? So for me, organically, I think for smaller businesses, 100%, right? A lot of people have local networks. They do things. Networking is not in the form of formalization. It's in the form of, I go to a local sports club, we catch up, there's a parent group, whatever it is. What we're talking about sort of now is, well, how do you know when you've over-indexed in something versus the payoff? So if you don't get the opportunity, is that the last 5, 6, 7 years been a complete waste of time?
Well, I'd
and
say,
how do you know?
Yeah, well, then as looking at ROI against those activities as well, because if you're networking for, and I'll look at it purely through that BD or BDM kind of lens. It's, hey, we're looking for clients, we're looking for referral partners, and then we've got our whale sitting up here where as we progress, there may be an opportunity to come there. As long as you're getting a return from those things in a transactional sense. Because I would say that our business has been built through networking, because that was the skill set that I brought to it originally. So you kind of look at, one, who are the clients that you brought in? Are they highly referring clients? Have they brought in more clients from that point of view? Because we look at different angles from it. But as long as it's no return, like I don't know if I could have sat there for 5 years, 10 years, getting no single return on the hope of one big thing landing.
I don't think small business can afford it. Like, I actually don't think you couldn't invest in it. Not as an independent. you can't justify. To me, this is where BDMs get sacked.
Yeah.
Like, if you sit there and go, my job is to be network, and go, well, what have you produced? To go, oh, it's a long-term goal. It's been a lot of bad BDMs that have sat in that space of, these things take time to pay off.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because it needs to align to, well, what's immediate. As I look at those long-term things, and you know, obviously for the stuff we do, we have strategic reasons around everything, where to sort of infiltrate different networks, where to be thought leaderships, like it's starting to do that. But also, you know, those days are changing dramatically because the reach is not reliant on that anymore.
No.
And it's, in fact, it's pretty difficult to justify. What we used to be able to have is, you know, and what traditional businesses had was, you know, people invested full time on that, which is, to me, is a very, I think it doesn't make sense from a value proposition for a business case at the moment for a business. It's a very interesting time, unless there's one to significance.
Yeah.
So moving in small business, obviously, you know, small businesses are doing that, where you have channel partner meetings and networks and things like that. I think it's completely different. But it's still, you know, as you said, ROI is the first indicator. I think the challenge is then, well, how much should you invest in something that doesn't yield immediate results? So what do you do there? To me, this is a very, very interesting question across everything. Where is those stop losses in how much are we going to put in energy, resources, capital, whatever it is, versus the actual expected return? And to me, this is where most businesses lose years and years doing something that should work, but actually it will never work for you. And that's the difference.
Do you think that that's because a lot of the businesses that we work with or have worked with are technician-led businesses? They don't really have, they're the owner, the CEO, they're the person that answers to themselves. So they don't have to answer to somebody else. Like, anytime I've gone out or anything we've done, I've always had to answer to the other people in the business, you, Lance, and you'll be able to go, no, that's actually, you're looking at it from a different angle. That's not worth our time at the moment. But a lot of people are having those conversations with themselves and themselves alone, and you can always justify your actions, particularly if using networking as the example.
I don't think you can always justify your actions. No, I think you've hit on exactly the problem.
Yeah.
I think people can be deluded in justifying their actions, but the reality of it is most people don't have anything better to do with their time.
I would think no,
because they would do it. If you actually think about this fundamentally, sorry to cut you off, but think about this. If you know you have something better to do with your time, you would do it. If not, what is that actually saying?
No, I get that, but I think for small business, and I'm talking small business solely here, the networking function not only serves the BD kind of or business growth function, it also serves a community function for them as well.
Yeah, but that's why 90% go the fail. This is the whole idea is, everyone in the same asylum. This is the whole point. This is why people are listening there and going, why is it so difficult? Because everyone you're hanging around with is going through the same problem they can't solve. Mm-hmm. This is exactly the delusion that grips small business. So where are the great business builders? Are they around your networks? So you look around and go, who's the most successful business builder here, and how do they afford to still be in this network from a time point of view? And what you'll find is most of the people that you're aspiring to be, or even in that question, who are you aspiring to be and the people you hang out with? If there isn't one, or you think you're the one who's the smartest there, you're the most deluded. And this is I think the thing we have to start thinking about is what gets done in private is important, unless what's getting done in private is a complete waste of time. And this is the challenge that we all have as owners, is not just even, if you've got someone doing it on behalf of your business, because where is that better utilized? Where is that resource better? Where is that capital? Where is that time better spent? We audit a lot of businesses through, a number of our companies in different ways. The amount of wastage of things that people have no trackable outcome for, and they go, that's just business. It's actually not. It's bad management and bad leadership. And these are the things we have to start thinking about, because even the idea of, as I said before, the warrior that goes to bed with sword every night looks foolish but one. Well, is that actually correct? Because that's one of those great sayings, like, curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
Well, did it? Or is that just one of those stupid sayings that caught on that everyone can remember, where actually curiosity was the birth of all innovation, and if you're not curious, you're a moron? Well, that
doesn't look quite as good on a T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. But these are these stupid things. So I love that saying.
Yep.
And I love the idea of some of the things we grind away at comes out just when you need it. Like some of the lessons, people, networks, it all sort of compounds at some stage, which is the sort of the beauty in all of these things you go into. But actually working out where you should be indexing at what stage in your business is the key to this whole game. Like we talk about networks a lot, but what are the other diluted things that you are doing in your business that you still justify based on because everyone else is doing it?
Yeah, there's everyone would have 1,000 of them. You could look around every single thing. You go, I could optimize that. I could change that. I could stop doing 100%. That. Which is that old stop start exercise.
Yeah. We Lana and I, we've spoken about this before, but we used to have an activity that every week we would come in and remove one thing that is redundant in our business, and there was no specificity around what it was. We just had to pull one thing that was redundant. So.
I'm still here, by the way.
Well,
just
who knows what next week will bring. But it started with, there was a dead plant in the corner that was just, no one could revive it. Get rid of it. Then it started with, it was remove something that didn't fit the business. So then it was the way the desks were configured. Then it was around, so you start with these superficial things. Then it started with team activities. Then it started with, something was happening with AV. This is years ago. And then you start looking at it because you run out of the superficial, and then you get to a point of, well, what else is not working? Well, we don't have enough leads. Well, where's that going from? Why is that going? What are we not doing? What are the things we are doing that are actually yielding no results? It's this whole idea of being invested in reduction of things in the way of actuality. So what are the things that are actually having in my business, that are actually occurring in my business versus what could occur if it was right, and this did this, and this and did this, which is essentially a road to delusion. Yeah. And I think this is part of the important conversations that we have to have, is at what point do you call yourself on being deluded? So let's get into some really heavy stuff. If you've got staff who isn't performing, and the more important question is, how do you know? Because most people on things that are so important, like team performance, what's happening, who owns an outcome. You go there and go, great, who owns this result? Well, I don't know. What's their job role? Well, it's a bit of this, bit of that. Great. How do you help them? Well, I just let them do their job. And then you go, oh, right, so the actual delusion is in the leadership versus what does a business that needs to start taking ownership across things, what do you need to be providing as a leader versus what you did have to provide when it was just you? And so moving from this leadership role to an architect of scale and growth is a massive leap for a lot of people. But they never think about it in that way. They just do more of what they were doing when they were a small business, but that actually guarantees that you stay small.
Yeah. It's and it's a big jump from being the one that's doing everything to, and we've seen it and been it, to actually leading others or getting them to do the same things. And there is that challenge around in small business. It's very hard to get specialists.
Afford specialists.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Getting him's quite easy.
But being able to set someone up for success in one of those hybrid or unicorn roles, that's a really hard thing because they're jumping from social media on one day, client management the other day. But you can't
because how do you, and this is the challenge is that's still not a good hire. So generalists are not good hires.
Yep. But it's where a lot of people are in small business.
Yeah, but that's their delusion of, I'm going to bring in someone who can do a bit of this, bit of that, and go, why is it not working?
Yeah.
Because you're actively making that choice that I want to bring in someone who doesn't know too much about everything, and I'll get them to do all of them. Yeah. Like that's an absolute delusion. Now, there's a necessity to it at times. That's absolutely correct. But even as you start, let's just take it away from small business. You're starting to get into established business. This still occurs. Like we're dealing with businesses and have done for many years, $100, $200, $300 million. CEOs aren't that much different and they're still doing it. And then what they don't realise is the way that they've been operating, not only because they look at it as I'm a good CEO because I'm across everything. What they're actually doing is keeping out talent from your business because someone who's good at something doesn't need the sort of babysitting that, say, the CEO in that instance needs to give them, their management style.
Yep.
So they don't realise that they're not even accessing the talent that's going to take them to the next level because it's not it's affordability thing anymore. It becomes, why would I work under someone who can't let go? So I've sat in some really interesting interviews with senior roles for bigger companies, and the feedback from the person, because we were just sitting there as observers and following up and finding out, was I'm not working under a CEO that's still trying to run everything in their business, because great people don't need that form of management. They need direction, they need to understand the goal, but they want to do their job. And this is where I think the experience of smaller businesses, if you go right back down, you're starting to build that muscle early. So even the clarity of someone doing a couple of different roles or needing to help out there, say a business under 10 people, that you still got some hybrid activities occurring, you can still make the management and leadership in those roles simple. If you can't, you're never going to be able to run a bigger business, because that's actually the simplest one. People need more direction because they need to know what you want. I think this is the interesting part of all of this is, what do I need to be doing right now that will not yield immediate results but are essential for my next phase of growth? And to me, that is very difficult if you're not even open to the idea that everything needs to change right now.
So for you personally, and we're going through a massive transition period over the last sort of couple of years, what's your version of sleeping with that sword? What are you doing in the background for the day when you need it? That you're not seeing the result on at the moment?
Well, it's a great question, but I think for us, and the transition's not nothing that we can't talk about publicly, because we've moved from a traditional consultancy business, which was always the plan, into a completely digital business. And so delivering what we did in a completely different form requires different skills, different people. So everyone in the business is essentially needing to be rehired in the role of where we're going, not what the past is. Now, that's a very difficult people management thing, because that's a huge amount of transition. You've got to change every aspect about the company, your messaging, what you're doing, how. So I think the sleeping sort of with the sword, which is what are the things that you expect or that need to be there when required. And that's grounding in the fundamentals of, well, what is the backbone of a good company and how does it run? So what are we doing that's still in those fundamental things? And I think the hard bit is obviously the people challenge is the hardest because people are changing the roles they need to play to adapt to a new industry and world. But equally, the whole world's changing that way. So, 2 years ago, not everyone was using AI. Now it's absolutely essential. So you actually walking in, the more the shock is, are we training people up to have time to learn how to use it? Because we've still got, and we've seen it, people are using AI in the most inefficient way. And then you ask yourself, well, how have we trained them? You're like, we haven't. Or we haven't trained in this, or it's evolved since 6 months ago, blah, blah, blah. So these are the important fundamentals of what are the things that we're doing that even if they don't pay off are the right things to do because it's a protection mechanism of how we putting the fundamental business systems behind, where we're seeing other companies that are, we'll use AI as another example, they're so excited about AI and they're just doing such dumb things on it, from security, from reach out, from allowing computers to run, and they're getting, Facebook ads of people going, you can have 10,000 new employees tomorrow without having to do anything. It's just, there's so much distraction and things happening that they're the warring things at the moment, because I think people can destroy their businesses. Whereas for us, it's, I think, still grounded in the fundamentals of what does tomorrow look like and being fully committed to the things that align to the vision of tomorrow. And I think that's easier said than done. And I think for us, we're back to every single day walking in and going, I'm going to remove one thing that doesn't align to tomorrow's vision of where we're taking the company. And those things are pretty difficult because we're no longer looking for dead pot plants. We have to make bigger, faster decisions around what conversations need to be had. Like even the simple stuff of who actually is our customer, and why are they our customer, or why do we want to keep serving them? It's changed dramatically on how or what they need from us. Yeah. So there's so much of that occurring, and to me, that's in the metaphor of the things that we're doing every day that pay off is exploring that stuff in depth, because it's not so relevant today, but it's going to 100% be relevant in the discussions of tomorrow, and we need to be armed. And that's the difference. I think we're considered when we hit milestones because we've been planning and thinking about it, not just being or waiting for reaction, which is been attacked. Where is my sword? We know exactly what we're doing right now. So to me, that's probably the grounding that most businesses, I think, should be really thinking about, and most leaders should be asking themselves that question. What is it that we should be talking about today for the transition of tomorrow? I was chatting to a lawyer yesterday, and she was talking about their use of AI, for instance. And she's like, the business has pushed it a lot on us, but I'm too busy to learn. Yeah. So essentially there's a 10x productivity thing that company's losing, and let's call it they got 40 people working for them. So 10 times that output that is being wasted because people aren't adopting it, they're not looking at it, they're just sending you should do this, but it's not actually institutionalized or do that. So every day they're going backwards 10x against anyone else who's implementing properly. Now, that's not to create anxiety, but you can't do that. And what's the reason? We're too busy.
Yeah. And I had made the mistake, or not made the mistake, but I went through that process of I need to get this out. I also know I need to automate the process, but the need to deliver trumped the automation. Yeah. So I needed the reminder from the back end of that. And you're right. You look around our company, and we're very heavy in the AI space and whatnot. Everyone uses it completely differently.
Yeah.
And everyone, and the little prompts or the little conversations, that you can see someone take a massive leap forward in how they use it and what they can get out of it from a water cooler conversation.
Yeah, and it's but I don't think anything's changed. So to me, the only difference right now is there's an interesting technology that fast tracks people's ability to, completely self-customize them itself to their learning gaps and how to use it. But actually, best practice is still being established, and this is the interesting part of that. But where is the responsibility of the team to self-learn? So for me, it actually, you start identifying people who, or where they're at in their career around self-learning. So why does someone need to be prompted to learn? Like, that's in my question. If you're a top performer in a position, you got to be asking yourself, why aren't I investing in learning everything that's going to make my role better and my skill set better? Not just for the company you're working for, but literally your own personal development. And you still see people, it's the fundamental human condition, still just lazy. Well, and not laziness of they don't want to get better, is I'm too busy to put something else on my plate. So even with the greatest solution that mankind's ever known, people still like, I don't really have the time. But they don't, like it's the ridiculousness of the thought process.
Or maybe they don't know where to focus the questions to, like they train themselves up on a skill set that's not the most ideal.
Yeah, but it's a delusion because you can literally talk to the thing about that. So it's literally not choosing to have conversations with things that could help you. So here's the oracle of all thinking. You can ask anything you want and get help anything you want. The only thing you have to do is ask. I don't have time to learn that. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's a delusion. But this is what we're seeing. There's this speed of companies adapting because of how they're either enforcing or putting in or training, because that's then let's just provide the support and not leave it on. There's other companies we've seen that go the other way. If you don't upskill yourself, you're going to be redundant. And guess what? That's your job as a professional.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting time. And to me, this is that nervousness around, well, what, where is it all heading? Because probably most companies are heading towards the other thing of not being great trainers, or as I was talking about the law firm, you would think, knowing that the difference it could make for their people, their quality, their everything, that you have that as your number one priority for the quarter. Yeah. But like all companies, it's only a few actually do it at the end of the day. You have people in it doing great stuff, but imagine the organisational power of institutionalising it properly. Then it comes to that conversation, well, who's responsible? And if the CEO is not responsible for that program being fast-tracked and implemented and doing that, well, if not now, when or why? Is there anything you could be doing with your time that is more important than that?
Yeah, and it's moving at such a rate that it has to be done now, otherwise you fall so far behind.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I look at it slightly differently. You won't fall far behind, but you've got an opportunity to fast track what you're doing because, well, some people are still getting digital footprints and it's been 20 years. And that's not a laughing thing. It's actually, it's just people's adaptation. The difference here is I think the barrier of learning's been reduced. So where else in the history of mankind have you been able to go, I'm not sure what to do, this is what I'm thinking, can you help me do it step by step? Well, that's the point. So there's no excuse anywhere. There's no excuse around protocols. There's no excuse around what we can and can't do. Like, you can self-learn now, and that's the power of it. The power now falls back into individuals or businesses to go, right, well, we want to be better, help. It's a really interesting time.
Massively, and I think with the that going back to your core quote, the warrior is thought a fool. What's the core quote? Because you said silly at the start, and I don't know if that was the actual first one.
The what?
You said he was thought silly.
Oh no, it's a warrior who sleeps with a sword is a fool every night but one.
So just on that, I kind of got your understanding of it, but there could be an interpretation of that way, which is a pressure interpretation, because sleeping with a sword means that you've got to keep it sharp. You're always looking for battle, a high tension kind of thing.
Well, that's your interpretation.
No, that's an interpretation of it.
Yeah. But I'm saying,
yeah, I'm not actually. I was just trying to look at it from a different angle in there, and I think that might be why some people they don't, they'll step back from it because of the pressure of actually looking for a fight all the time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The interpretation being then of looking for a fight, or I say the same thing. Well, why would you ever buy insurance then? You don't know if your house will burn down, so why buy insurance?
Yeah.
So what's the difference? So preparation is, to me, preparation is the things that you do that are required for the worst case scenario. So what do I need to be prepped? Now, some people consider not training your team as being that version of negligence, where others saying it's none of my responsibility, I'll just keep getting better people. This is the philosophy and values and all that. But I think this is that old idea of, well, right now, what should I be doing? Or what is a necessity for me to be doing? Or where am I looking for my cues to what to do? And as you give an example with the networking, most people would be happy to be stand in the asylum looking around because everything feels normal versus
it's comfortable.
Well, it's
known.
Well, I'd say it's familiar.
Yeah.
And so maybe comfortability is built from familiarity.
Yeah.
But this whole idea of understanding effectiveness and understanding limited time, resources and effort, how am I optimizing that as the leader of my business? So most of us don't have any time or energy or resources to spend because they're fully optimized or deployed. And if they don't feel like that's getting the right result or starting to compound to deliver the right result, then something has to change. And that's the point of this is, what are you doing that actually is changing your business in a fundamental way every single day? So what are you actually waiting for? And I think that's probably the core idea here is I can sleep peacefully knowing that I've prepared perfectly. I've got my sword next to me, so I now sleep at peace, not necessarily expecting war.
Yeah.
This idea of most people aren't preparing for this era of AI. They're waiting to see what's next versus you should be learning. It's that philosophy I had, you should always upgrade your phone. Not so much now because there's been a tapering off of technology, but there was such technology leaps for a decade there of learning it that if you missed a couple of iterations, it felt like a whole new device you had to learn versus the subtlety of going, upgrades, albeit let's take the financial reasoning out of that just from a self-learning point of view. But, learning prompts at the moment was the first step of AI, understanding now where there's sort of semi-agentic things happening or what things feed into, how they talk. Stuff we were doing a year and a half ago from the understanding of how AI thought with that current technology is essentially redundant now. Yep. All that thinking, all that investment, all that, work that we did, but only redundant in the output. The learnings from that in the application of then how to redesign the back-end system, the interfaces and why they do that, how they remember what we're seeing from a trend point of view, because we've been in it, you can see where it's heading, how it's starting to win and the type of architecture that seems to be better for these type of systems. That stuff you can't replace.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting, I think, part is even investing in time into these things, you start to learn it the same way you reflect on the same with networking. It's not just what you're immediately getting, but the actual understanding of how these little ecosystems works or learning is a compounding superpower that you can have in your company.
Yeah, I look at the way that you talk and interact about what we're doing in the back end now. There's no way you could have those conversations without the learnings and the preparation of all of the other things, which could have been seen as, because we're not using them, as irrelevant work. But that's the groundwork that you can actually now make intelligent decisions and make fast actions on.
Yeah, well, you also don't spend time working out if you're being tricked. Like when people are coming and go, this can do this, and you go, well, wait a minute, we understand it from its fundamental, the idea of how it should work. It either tracks or it doesn't, or then you can recognize brilliance early and go, oh, that's exactly a problem, because people are talking, it sounds gibberish to anyone else unless you've been in it and you understand exactly where that fits. And I assume that's, it's like any mastery of a skill, or when you start getting experience around it, is you start to pick up on absolutes of what's worked, what doesn't, or how to do it. Like if you're throwing a punch, people throw a great jab in boxing. They understand the fundamentals of what needs to move in the body to have impact, because others see you throw a jab, but a boxer would know there's 50 different types of jab you can throw, and some jabs are only to set up the cross. Yep. So they're not jabs, they're distractions that look like a jab. So understand the nuance of what you're doing, where others would never understand the subtlety of what's going on. And then people who've played it or mastered it, they go, that was so clever, and because it's recognized by others that understand the actual game. And this is, I think, the importance of these things is where you're grinding on these things for preparation, to be prepared for where you're going. That learning is so important in banking the quality of the type of business you have, because people will be tripped up. That's these fly-by-nighters that get great success, but you see them, we've known people who've made so much money quickly, and then they've been bankrupt 6 months later, because there's no substitute for true understanding and
for substance.
Learning. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
for substance, and it's critical, and that's, I guess, the point of you not sleeping with your sword unless you know how to use it, or there's no way it'd be so close to you. You only understand it from the point of why you would choose that.
Yeah, nice. It's a very big topic.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm sure we'll come back to it again at a later episode, just so I can actually get the quote right next time. But TK, thank you, buddy. I will talk to you again soon.
Great.
Cheers.